This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace. You know when you're really stressed or not feeling so great about your life or about yourself? Talking to someone who understands can really help. But who is that person? How do you find them? Where do you even start? Talkspace. Talkspace makes it easy to get the support you need. With Talkspace, you can go online, answer a few questions about your preferences, and be matched with a therapist. And because you'll meet your therapist online, you don't have to take time off work or arrange childcare. You'll meet on your schedule, wherever you feel most at ease. If you're depressed, stressed, struggling with a relationship, or if you want some counseling for you and your partner, or just need a little extra one-on-one support, Talkspace is here for you. Plus, Talkspace works with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. No insurance? No problem. Now get $80 off of your first month with promo code SPACE80 when you go to Talkspace.com. Match with a licensed therapist today at Talkspace.com. Save $80 with code SPACE80 at Talkspace.com.
In a world where insanity reigns supreme and safety pin manufacturers are running out of metal for the diapers of the leftists, it's comforting to know an ancient, fat, long-haired, bearded reprobate has your mind in mind. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California. And despite every attempt by the SHR Media Network to revoke his shameless contract, we return to the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, live and direct right here on the SHR Media Network, where I am broadcasting, oh Jesus, I forgot it again, right behind the sumptuous, resplendent, and palatial SHR Media Network, where I am in the studios, broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California. Yes, I am actually 2 miles east of the Bill Mill, the locus of evil on the entire left coast. That's that Capitol building at 10th and L Street downtown, where late at night you can hear the death of common sense and you can smell the odoriferous stench. This is new. Of, let's see, sulfur, brimstone, and human crap. Because that's what California produces at that evil building, the Capitol building at 10th and L Street downtown. The Bill Mill, the belly of the beast. Speaking of belly, you got a belly up to the bar. We've kept your seat, and it's great to see you back tonight. It is Tuesday, December the 17th, the year of our Lord, 2019. Angel is going to be your bartendress tonight. She pours with the best of them, and the lava lamp is, in fact, lighted to my left. Excuse me, no, that's my right. My right, your left. You can listen and chat at shrmedia.com. The only streaming source I'm doing tonight is the SHR Media Network channel on YouTube. I got to tell you, we don't water our drinks just like we don't water our conversation. Politics, religion, crime, culture, economics, race, sex, science, law. We talk about it all right here at the saloon. Nothing is sacred. The speech is free, but the booze is not. All we ask is that, well, we ask that you... We ask that you flush the damn toilet, jiggle the damn handle, and don't forget to tip your waitress. Now, why? There we go. Now it's working. Tonight, I have a great individual who is a returning guest, but darn me for not having him on more frequently. And that is the gracious Lonnie Poindexter. He's going to be here for the hour. And for those of you, number one, Lonnie, welcome and Merry Christmas, sir.
Well, thank you, Biff. It's an honor and a pleasure to be on your show. And, yeah, it's been way too long since the last time that I've shared the airwaves with you.
Yeah, because now I'm okay, for those of you who are watching on video, I'm hanging my head. I should have had Lonnie on earlier. My bad. I get it. Well, Lonnie, let me I'm going to ask you a question. But before I ask you a question, I can't forget my manners. And my manners are, number one, thank you, sir, for being here tonight, because I know that, as it appears, 3/4 of my guests are from the East Coast. And you are also, I must never forget my manners and say thank you for staying up so late, because even though it's only 8:05 out here on the far left coast, man, it's 11:05 where you are. And that's a time sacrifice. And anytime and every time somebody does that, yourself as well, I am grateful, trust me, for you having spared the time for me tonight this late. So thank you, sir, again.
Oh, you're very welcome. And anytime. I'm a night owl, so you can anytime you want to do.
Oh, okay.
And have me involved. I'm up around this time, and yeah, you can call me. And anybody that knows me, it's funny, when I was doing a radio, early morning radio, that I had a chance to change when I got my own show, and I had a chance to pick the time slot. They gave me whatever I wanted. Well, Lonnie, you might want that early morning drive time slot. So, no, not for me.
No thanks, I'll pass on that one, because I might be in the midst of some shut-eye right around then.
Yeah.
Not saying for sure, just maybe. Okay, now I have to ask you the question that I just formulated right after I called you, and that's this. Would you be amenable to coming on like maybe once every other month or so, just to weigh in? Because I like your perspective, I like your views. It's time for me to get some good regular guests that I can count on, and some great perspectives. And you have both. So just throwing it out there in the ozone to see if you would be perhaps interested, sir.
Oh, most definitely, man. Just let me know when, and I'll avail myself to coming on your show, man. I follow you as well, and we are teasing a pod in terms of our worldview, and we're just enough of a rabble rouser to poke the bear and shake things up in this nation.
Okay. For those of you, and again, my bad for not having done this so that you are more familiar, and that's another reason for Lonnie being on tonight. I want you to become more familiar with Lonnie Poindexter. For those of you who don't know him, I'm reading from contentofcharacterseries.com.
Yes.
And it says Lonnie Poindexter has over 25 years of successful management, sales, and marketing experience. You've worked with Silicon Valley startups. You've been big in the tech sector in California. I believe today you're still in Washington, D.C.
Yes, I am.
This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace. You know when you're really stressed or not feeling so great about your life or about yourself? Talking to someone who understands can really help. But who is that person? How do you find them? Where do you even start? Talkspace. Talkspace makes it easy to get the support you need. With Talkspace, you can go online, answer a few questions about your preferences, and be matched with a therapist. And because you'll meet your therapist online, you don't have to take time off work or arrange childcare. You'll meet on your schedule, wherever you feel most at ease. If you're depressed, stressed, struggling with a relationship, or if you want some counseling for you and your partner, or just need a little extra one-on-one support, Talkspace is here for you. Plus, Talkspace works with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. No insurance? No problem. Now get $80 off of your first month with promo code SPACE80 when you go to Talkspace.com. Match with a licensed therapist today at Talkspace.com. Save $80 with code SPACE80 at Talkspace.com.
You've been a correspondent. You cover current events in the nation's capital about public policy and the faith-based community, which is another reason, and we'll get into some of those stories tonight with you. But that's why I think you've got a great voice, a valid voice, and a voice that needs to be spread. So since you're here, and I would be remiss if I didn't, can you tell us about what you represent, as in Lion Chasers, what you've done in the past, and any social media or websites that you'd, or agencies or ideas or programs that you'd like to feature and let people know about while you're here tonight, sir?
Sure, appreciate that. As you mentioned, my prior background before God got my attention, because he has a sense of humor and said, I want you to do things within, I want you to go to the swamp, and I want you to be a voice in media and radio in the faith-based community as it relates to politics, because the faith-based community, in my humble opinion, sits on its hands, and that's part of the reason why we have the problems we have in this nation today. Not enough good people stepping up and speaking out. I spent 20-some-odd years in Silicon Valley, and then God moved me to D.C. and to work with a nonprofit, Star Parker, who is a conservative pundit here in our nation's capital. And then from that, it led to me eventually getting my own radio show. So the Lion Chasers Network is an association of like-minded individuals across the country that have organizations that are speaking truth and speaking truth to in the public space. And what we do is best we can here in the swamp is to talk to, or at least get the attention of, those who dwell in the swamp, so that they understand that the constituency that put you in office is also the same constituency can replace you if you don't stand for the values that are near and dear and true to the founding of this nation and to just good common sense America. So I work with many organizations across the nation, like FRC, Family Research Council, Heritage Foundation, Star Parker's organization, which is Cure Center for Urban Renewal and Education, and many others that are just in there swinging away because, my personal opinion, I think the church has forgotten how to fight. You know, they read they don't read the full Bible, I'll just put it to you that way. So I try to remind at least my constituency and my listeners that they should step up and speak out, because historically that's how this nation was founded. You know, let me share with you quickly. You know, I had back in 2013, I met a pastor out here in D.C., and he asked me, he says, have you ever heard of a Black Robe Regiment? I said, no, I've never heard of that. And I thought I was fairly knowledgeable because I love history. And he said, well, the Black Robe Regiment is a name given to clergy in the colonies by England, in fact, by the Redcoats. And they call them the Black Robe Regiment because they feared the power that the church had to rally the people to stand up and say, we have enough of this, and put down their rakes and hoes and wagons and so forth, and take up armaments and go out and fight for their independence and their freedom. And that's why we have America today. And when I learned it was clergy that was doing that, and it was Reverend Mecklenburg, if anybody wants to Google him, amazing story of that man and many, many others at the founding of this nation. I said, that's me. That's what I want to be. Now, I'm not an ordained minister, but that's who I hang out with, and I love to poke them, to remind them of who they truly are. And it's what I think makes our nation great. That's why we're this unique experiment from heaven above, from God, that a nation founded upon godly principles. And no other nation in the history of the world was founded the way we were. You know, not even Israel and some of the other nations where the founding documents were put in such a way to give the power to the people and not to the ruling class.
Can people still listen to you on Lion Chasers? And if they want to catch your show, where do they go to do that?
Sure. The show Lion Chasers, which was on Urban Family Talk, my show is on hiatus right now because they morphed the Urban Family Talk radio platform into American Family Radio's greater show form. It's 184 stations across the country. My show is on hiatus right now. We'll be relaunching it in 2020. But what I'm doing now and I'm focused on chiefly is television. So I have had the great honors to be associated with a television network based out of Odessa, Texas, Odessa Midland area, and it's called GLC TV, or God's Learning Channel, and it's a television network that takes that intersection between faith and public policy and shares it with the faith-based community, or just the greater community in the greater Texas, New Mexico, and then we're on 2 satellites on the West Coast. So you just Google God's Learning Channel, and we'll come right up. It's GLC TV.
Okay. Would it be something as simple as, because I haven't looked, I got so many darn tabs up right now, is it glctv.com? Would it be that?
It's in the age of Google, you would think I should know this. It's GLC. Hold on here. Let me pull it up myself. It's glc.us.com.
Okay, glc.us.com. And the reason I say that is I'm putting that in chat right now. So that people can see that, so that they know where they can go to see you. And okay. Actually, I consider myself very lucky to get you back on radio and maybe get you like every other month or every month or so, because you're not that far from being really busy yourself next year getting back to radio. I have sort of a basic fundamental question to ask you. Folks, I'm talking to Lonnie Poindexter of Lion Chasers. And the fundamental question is this. It's kind of broken down into a couple of component parts, and we'll talk about some of these stories here tonight. As per normal, I've got so much stuff to talk about and so much stuff to go over. But let me ask you, Lonnie Poindexter, what I think is the pivotal question of the day. 2020 isn't just about electing a president. I think it's much, much, much more than that. Because I see that we're fighting for the survival. Trump is he's material, but not that material. And I mean it by this. We're fighting not for the survival of him. Yeah, okay. But we're fighting right now these days.
This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace. You know when you're really stressed or not feeling so great about your life or about yourself? Talking to someone who understands can really help. But who is that person? How do you find them? Where do you even start? Talkspace. Talkspace makes it easy to get the support you need. With Talkspace, you can go online, answer a few questions about your preferences, and be matched with a therapist. And because you'll meet your therapist online, you don't have to take time off work or arrange childcare. You'll meet on your schedule, wherever you feel most at ease. If you're depressed, stressed, struggling with a relationship, or if you want some counseling for you and your partner, or just need a little extra one-on-one support, Talkspace is here for you. Plus, Talkspace works with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. No insurance? No problem. Now get $80 off of your first month with promo code SPACE80 when you go to Talkspace.com. Match with a licensed therapist today at Talkspace.com. Save $80 with code SPACE80 at Talkspace.com.
We're fighting for our culture. We're fighting for our religion. We're fighting for our language. We're fighting for goodness. We're fighting for common sense. We're fighting for sovereignty and independence. We are fighting for the United States of America and its soul. We're fighting for Western civilization, in my estimation, because when America dies, so dies the rest of the free countries on the planet. When you can no longer find freedom and liberty in the United States of America, where else do you go to find it? When goodness loses, evil wins. And sometimes I really do think it's frequently just that simple. That's the fundamental question.
I think you hit the nail on the head. All I can say is ditto, and I agree 150%. Those who just see it as another election cycle, and it doesn't make any difference who's in office, that politics aren't important, but those of us who are in the know and follow these things knows that the policy that comes down from the swamp affects the rest of the nation. Anybody that experienced what took place during the previous administration in the 8 years as we circled the drain before the elections in 2016 knows what we're talking about here. And just as you stated, I mean, so goes America, so goes the rest of the world.
Yes.
You know, if we get sick and we implode, and that's the game plan. And all you have to do is go to other countries.
Yes, absolutely, that's the game plan. People in the United States, not just the people in D.C., but the electorate too, sadly, have a historical Alzheimer's. They don't see and they can't remember what happened during World War II. Angela Merkel is a perfect living example of that today, according to her latest rant about we must stifle free speech. We don't even see what's happening and understand what's happening across the pond. We can't see or understand what happened during the last impeachment process, which leads me into impeachment now. Tomorrow, the House is going to vote on impeachment. They need 216 out of 435 total votes to impeach and move the situation over to the Senate. News that I heard, the latest news, before I got into the studio tonight, is that the House has 218 votes. That is sufficient to impeach because you need a minimum of 216. Now, that's pledged at this point. Things could change tomorrow, but what we do know is that to date, this is entirely along partisan lines. To my knowledge, not one GOP member has crossed for impeachment against President Trump. So, well, first basic question, do you think President Trump is going to get impeached tomorrow, Lonnie Poindexter?
I am going backwards and forwards on this, and I've talked to folks a lot smarter than me about whether it's going to take place and what the game plan is. You and I both know that they're doing this because they're utter fear that they would lose the elections in 2020, and so they must impeach him now. And just like we had, what was the lawmaker out of New Jersey who Democrat that decided that he wasn't going to vote for impeachment. I'm hoping that there's going to be surprises coming from those votes that they're counting on for impeachment, and then the other side of me is just praying that God's going to move. I think President Trump was, and forgive me, sound like a church person, but was divinely appointed because he's a fighter, and we needed somebody that could go in and swing, and this is their last-ditch effort at trying to undermine that, which is going forward, that's putting our nation back on the right track. But I was the same way in 2016 during the elections. I couldn't even watch them on TV because I was so, I turned the TV off and then turned it back on, and so friends were texting me on the phone, and then I think when you went to Pennsylvania, I finally relaxed, right? and said, okay, you can do this thing. I got to tell you, I don't know.
Jeff Van Drew, I'm told in chat, the guy's name is Jeff Van Drew, who allegedly came over.
Yes. So I'm hoping that there's going to be more surprises like that, but we will see.
Here's another story.
Let me ask you.
I tell you what, I'm with you. I vacillate about every 5 or 10 minutes or so. It depends on the last source that I heard. And being in the national belly of the beast yourself, D.C., whereas opposed I'm just in little poopy California, spell it with a K, swamp over here. I'm not going to hear anything on this side. I'm not going to hear anything on this part of the coast. All I'm going to hear is an echo chamber of get him out. Yeah. So I vacillate. I have some hope from that guy, Jeff Van Drew, and I have some hope in terms of, let me use a poll as an example. Pollsters come up to me and ask me a question. They've polled me probably 5 or 6 times in my life. My duty, as far as I'm concerned, is to never give a pollster an accurate answer, especially depending upon the nature of the question involved. My only thought is some of these representatives have publicly pledged A, but when it comes down to the vote, they might go B. That's my only hope. Now, whether it turns out, I just fear that, they'll squeak by, and then they'll roll over into the Senate. And that's another story that, boy, we'll have to deal with on another day, because that opens up another new house of cards, so to speak. There have been some stories, Lonnie Poindexter, coming out recently that I think bode very, very poorly for the Democrats. And I think this in a cascading form of other issues is not boding well for them, which is why I continue to say that I think they will do anything and everything that they possibly can, corrupt or illegal or not, in order to win, because they can't not do it anymore. A bunch of stories have come out saying that black voter support for Trump are at the highest levels, and that they could seal, in fact.
This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace. You know when you're really stressed or not feeling so great about your life or about yourself? Talking to someone who understands can really help. But who is that person? How do you find them? Where do you even start? Talkspace. Talkspace makes it easy to get the support you need. With Talkspace, you can go online, answer a few questions about your preferences, and be matched with a therapist. And because you'll meet your therapist online, you don't have to take time off work or arrange childcare. You'll meet on your schedule, wherever you feel most at ease. If you're depressed, stressed, struggling with a relationship, or if you want some counseling for you and your partner, or just need a little extra one-on-one support, Talkspace is here for you. Plus, Talkspace works with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. No insurance? No problem. Now get $80 off of your first month with promo code SPACE80 when you go to Talkspace.com. Match with a licensed therapist today at Talkspace.com. Save $80 with code SPACE80 at Talkspace.com.
A 2020 win, which is why I think there have been so many turbulent assaults, verbal and otherwise, physical as well, what the hell, against blacks in America who are standing up. Blexit, Candace Owens, you mentioned Star Parker, yourself, any number of other people, Kanye West, boy, did he catch a load of crap. A growing bunch of polls show that President Trump is gaining a bunch of support of black voters above what any Republican president has basically ever received. Let's see, Emerson Polling and Rasmussen reports have it about 34%. That's a stunning number. Lonnie Poindexter, that's stunning.
That's a huge number. And historically, if you get any more than about 25 or 30% of the black vote crossing the aisle in a major election, you don't get a Democrat win in the Oval Office. And so the left, and the Democrat Party specifically, within the left, is scared to death of that. And that's why they're throwing so many rocks. And I've had the great pleasure of meeting the individuals that you mentioned. These young black millennials are on fire.
Oh, yeah. And
whereas our generation, in my age, we tend to be a little bit more laid back on our approach. They go at them. I've seen this whole Brexit thing last year when they came to town. You had between 450 and 500 millennials show up on their own dime, and they packed them in a couple hotels here in D.C., and they had the meeting at the White House. It was a beautiful thing to see because it means that they're doing their homework. Thank God for social media. Now, they censor the crap out of it if you have our worldview, but these young people are finding a way to get the information about what's really going on, and they discover the origins of the parties. They're having those aha moments, and I've interviewed some of them on my shows and talk with many more individually, and that's what gives me hope that something's afoot. I think President Trump is going to have a record win next year, regardless of what happens with the impeachment and all those other foolishness, and it's going to rock the Democrat Party. And the only reason I can say that is because the sheer number of rocks that are thrown at me as I continue to beat the drum for folks to wake up and cross the aisle.
Exactly. I've heard some people, some pundits, say that if it goes as badly as some people are speculating, we could be looking at the new Whig Party.
Yeah.
And then there's a vacuum created of monumental proportions. But it's so critical. Well, let's see, what do we got? Lonnie Poindexter, I got about 3 more minutes before the bottom of the hour break. But it's so critical because it literally is now all or nothing. Either the Democrats break the back of the GOP and conservatives, or it's the leftists have pushed so hard and so long to the left that their back may get broken, which is why, it becomes almost a parody of itself, saying every 4 years, this is the most incredibly critical election you'll ever have. This is going to be, in 2020, the most critical election for president we will ever have. And we need to vote red all the way down in November of 2020, all next year, period, end of statement. Because now we know if Hillary Clinton had been elected president, can you imagine, Lonnie Poindexter, the things we would not know about what has been happening in front of our eyes, camouflaged?
It has the time that I've spent here in D.C., because I'm a California boy originally, and one thing that I had not clearly seen when I got here about 7.5 years ago is who the good guys are and who the bad guys are within the GOP. And what President Trump has done is kind of pulled the covers back so you can see who's really friend or foe. Because you have the establishment members of both parties who really don't give a darn who wins as long as they stay in power.
Yep.
And, like the John McCains and the rest of the swamp dwellers in D.C. But we now know who the bad guys are, and we know who the good guys are. And that's one thing that I think is really a great accomplishment from this brash New Yorker. Who'd have thought?
Exactly. Who'd have thought? When we come back, I have a ton of stories that I'd like to discuss. We're listening to Lonnie Poindexter. He is from D.C., an incredibly important voice, lion chaser, a radio star himself, extraordinaire, conservative, member of the Republican Party, I would guess.
Yes, I am.
And
card-carrying member.
We'll be back after this. There are a bunch of stories I want to go over with Lonnie. And so hang on. I'm sorry, number one, the phone doesn't work. This is a problem I've been working on for quite some time. So I'm sorry you won't be able to call in to Lonnie. The phone, I'm hoping in the background to get it up for the second hour, but I'm not sure of that. In any event, Lonnie Poindexter will be back. We're going to be taking a break. Now is a great time to go get your chocolate chip cookie and some ice cream. And you're listening to BZ, I am he, at the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show. Back again with Lonnie Poindexter.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
For 50 years, I've seen the American people blinded by corrupt politicians, a lapdog media, and deceptive Islam. The one thing the elites fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through Spreaker, iTunes, and SoundCloud, through SHR Media and the Western Free Radio Network, for half a century of experienced perspective on political and social issues, weekly on The Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's
no surrender, ever.
Because truth is not always pleasant.
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
From a public locker inside a dilapidated Long Island rail station comes a show designed to piss off liberals using truth, facts, and ridicule. The Lid Radio Show, featuring the conservative voice from the People's Republic of New York, the Lid himself, Jeff Dunitz. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com. At Lid Radio, we fight for the truth, justice, and a good kosher T-bone. If you don't listen, Hillary Clinton might sneak into your bedroom in her housecoat late at night and blame you for her election loss. It's the Lid Radio Show with Jeff Dunitz.
Hey girls, Carry Girl Gear is here. More and more women every day are concealed carrying, participating in competitive shooting, and getting firearms training. It's not a boys' club anymore, and we don't have to shop in their stores anymore either. Finally, a cool and unique clothing line just for women. Dope tees and hats for the patriotic concealed carry and 2A girl. So what are you waiting for? Go check out carrygirlgear.com today.
Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, a mere 2 miles from the state capital, the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern, only on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com to listen. You can also watch on the SHR Media Facebook page and the SHR Media YouTube channel. No goldfish were abused in the making of this ad.
Show on the SHR Media Network, Sackheads Against Tyranny. On shrmedia.com, go there quick like a bunny, 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific, every Wednesday, live and direct on the SHR Media Network, shrmedia.com. Be there.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics.
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
And all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on shrmedia.com.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome back. You are listening to the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon. Go to shrmedia.com right now, quick like a bunny, and you can also be in the chat room, just like Mike, Whiskey Dale, Dave, the Alaskan, one viewer, and a host of others who will be named later during an appropriate trade for money, cash, and or prizes, and or the porcelain Dalmatian. We are speaking tonight to Lonnie Poindexter. We went through Lonnie's background, and we began to talk about 2020, what the stakes are these days. And I want to go through the rest of the show, the time that we have with Lonnie, and highlight some recent stories and then get Lonnie's input on this. This is a very recent story from a state that I have no idea where it's going, why it's doing this. I know the emphasis behind it. I know what's or who is pushing it. The story is just Virginia Governor Ralph Northam defended a bill allowing abortion during labor. And you have to ask yourself, because this is going to be linked with another story in just a moment, but you have to think to yourself, what kind of a person believes that this is on its face, whether it passes or not, thinks that this is a good idea? Allowing abortion during labor. I can think of no other word to quantify that Lonnie Poindexter, other than just, well, infanticide. How far off am I on that?
You're right on point. Northam is someone who I'm searching for words to say that.
I know you're trying to stay. This is the guy who walked around in blackface.
Yeah.
And Democrats still like this guy. I don't get that part either. I don't get it.
I don't get it either. And he won't commit to whether he was the one in blackface or if he was the one in the white hood. Either one of them. He's one of those two, you know. And I know that I was with a group of protesters who descended upon the governor's mansion there in Virginia, calling for him to step down. And really, it wasn't so much in light of discovering his past, but in his policies. And this guy is, I don't know if you know this, if he's a pediatrician, this guy's a doctor. So it's not like he does not know what they actually do to those babies. And for folks that might not be aware of his position, he is for and supporting abortion at any time, even up to the birth of the child. So
yes.
It's quoted as stating that if the child survives the abortion in the womb and is birthed onto the delivery table, then I'm kind of paraphrasing his quote, keep the child comfortable until the mother and doctor decide what to do with the baby.
Yeah, and then you can throw it out with the rest of the syringes and things like that. I said in chat, I said, look, this guy is doing Margaret Sanger's work. Sure. Hillary Clinton, leftist, Democrats praise Margaret Sanger. Are you kidding me? You don't know what she emphasized and advocated for? And that is so brain glazingly, stultifyingly amazing that people are that ignorant that they don't know what she did and represented. And you mentioned a doctor, and I've played this before, but I want people to understand what happens. Lonnie, you mentioned what happens in an abortion. Here's a guy in front of Congress. He's a doctor who's going to tell you exactly what happens during an abortion. If you're squeamish, don't listen for the next maybe a minute and a half or so. But what this doctor, a real medical doctor, Dr. Levitino, is saying is the exact same thing that I guess, Northam, you say is a doctor. This is what Northam advocates.
Dr. Levitino, we'll begin with you. Welcome.
Thank you, Chairman and members of the committee. I only have 5 minutes, so I'm going to get right to it. Second trimester D&E abortions perform between roughly 14 and 24 weeks of gestation. Your patient today is 17 years old. She's 22 weeks pregnant. Her baby is the length of your hand plus a couple of inches. And she's been feeling her baby kick for the last several weeks. But she's asleep on an operating room table. You walk into that operating room scrubbed and gowned, and after removing laminaria, you introduce a suction catheter into the uterus. This is a 14 French suction catheter. If she were 12 weeks pregnant or less, basically the width of your hand or smaller, you could basically do the entire procedure with this. But babies this big don't fit through catheters this size. After suctioning the amniotic fluid out from around the baby, you introduce an instrument called a SOFR clamp. It's about 13 inches long. It's made of stainless steel. The business end of this clamp is about 2.5 inches long and a ½ inch wide. There are rows of sharp teeth. This is a grasping instrument. When it gets a hold of something, it does not let go. A D&E procedure is a blind abortion, so picture yourself introducing this and grabbing anything you can blindly and pull, and I do mean hard, and out pops a leg about that big, which you put down on the table next to you. Reach in again, and pull out an arm about the same length, which you put down on the table next to you. And use this instrument again and again to tear out the spine, the intestines, the heart and lungs. Head on the baby that size is about the size of a large plum. Can't see it, but you pretty good idea you've got it if you've got your instrument around something and your fingers are spread about as far as they go. You know you did it right if you crush down on the instrument and white material runs out of the cervix. That was the baby's brains. Then you could pull out skull pieces. and you have a day like I had a lot of times, sometimes a little face comes back and stares back at you. Congratulations, you just successfully performed a second trimester D&E abortion. You just affirmed her right to choose.
That's what Northam wants. That's what he's advocating, up to and including birth.
Yep.
But wait, there's more. Northam is now saying that, you know what, I have a great gun control plan, and my gun control plan includes being able to seize property lawfully purchased from individual citizens, confiscate it against your wishes and against the Constitution, and if you push back with law enforcement and law enforcement doesn't prevail, well, I'll just call out the National Guard as well. That's the state of Virginia today. Then there's another Virginia Democrat who says, let National Guard force counties to honor gun control, because as soon as this came out from Northam, the sanctuary firearms counties in Virginia exploded, to include sheriffs who said something similar to, I will deputize every citizen in my county if I need to for the sheriff's department. These policies will not be coming to my county. That's extreme. And the extreme verbiage doesn't seem to be stopping Lonnie Poindexter from Governor Northam, an individual who gladly embraces the procedure we just heard about. Lonnie Poindexter, what's the future of Virginia, do you think?
Virginia is, and on those 2 points on the abortion, but our Second Amendment rights in that state might be the tipping point. People I know, because D.C. is comprises Virginia and Maryland, and D.C. is a little smaller than the city of Sacramento in terms of population. And the folks I'm talking to in the Patriot community and other communities and so forth is let them come take my guns. In other words, just come try to take them. And to see these sheriffs that are standing up in the sanctuary cities for gun rights, or in counties and so forth, taking place in the state, it's a real battle line, and it's going to get, if Northam and his cronies don't back down, it's going to get ugly, my friend.
I am afraid you are correct. I said this on Ken McClinton's show last night. I said, I'm not advocating this, but in politics, the axiom goes like this. You wage you wage words with words and actions with actions. Yeah. We're at the words point, but if Northam decides that he wants to move into the action venue, I'm afraid it's just not going to go well.
I agree.
And I'm afraid leftists and Democrats don't get that concept yet. I'm afraid that Virginia is a veritable tinderbox, and Northam and his cronies are really doing their level best to insist upon being handed a box of matches, and they're putting the tip to the little scratchy portion on the box, and they're just about to light it off if they can, because the tinder's already there.
I think you're correct. Those I'm speaking with think that that's what they want to happen, so that they can nationalize police activity across the country because Americans, and I was just thinking about our history in this nation. When Americans got sick of King George and his foolishness, you know what they did, and so folks tend to want to think that we're too far away from that type of pushback from the people.
Right, it'll never happen here. Never happen here.
Yeah, and I'm saying from what I'm seeing and the people I'm talking to, no, we're a lot closer. we are a lot closer. I was just thinking of, is it New Zealand, that they went for a gun grab there and a voluntary giving up of your weaponry, and it was an abysmal failure.
Yes, it was.
Across the entire nation. So common sense people will figure out that the last bastion of protection against tyranny is your right to bear arms and protect yourselves. And I got to tell you, share a quick story with you. I was invited to Jamaica a couple of years ago to speak at a conference there, and I discovered that Jamaica does not have like their version of the Second Amendment. And, it's a nation that's, for all intents and purposes, still a third world nation. And so the things that we take for granted here, other nations don't have. And so they have, tomfoolery with politicians just like we have here, but the people have no recourse except rioting in the streets. And they do that there when things get a little heady. But we here in America have always have had that as the last bastion of protection, because the founders of this nation understood what tyranny was, because they experienced that in Europe.
It's funny, Jack Alexander just came into chat. Welcome, Jack. Jack is from Australia. Jack experienced what happened in terms of gun confiscation in 1996, 1997, and on. And he and I have spoken about what is occurring in New Zealand and the fact that they demanded everyone turn in their weapons, et cetera, and that, a handful, a smattering of people did that. Australia is seeing the results of what happened to that right now. We got about 12 minutes left for the show tonight. What I'd like to do is move over into culture and the family and the Bible and Christmas. This story caught my eye tonight. Facebook shuts down. Facebook, yeah, you would expect this. Shuts down a mom who on a Facebook post was sharing Bible passages. Apparently now sharing Bible passages are a violation of Facebook's ever-changing kind of nebulous community standards that they won't tell you exactly about.
Right.
This woman named Carol Waldman, she's a mom from Pennsylvania. She's a wife. She logs into her Facebook account, and she finds her post from the book of Luke in the Bible. Boom, gone. Chapter 10. So she wrote, "The secular left is at it again, denying my link in Facebook post to online Bible." True, that is a continuing thing. Then, recently, Neil Gorsuch had the absolute temerity, Lonnie Poindexter, to say, "Merry Christmas" on television.
Yeah.
And leftists went nuts. They went 210 over 190. Here's a chick named Amy Vanderpool. She wrote this on Twitter after that occurred. And it's like, I have to think. I would have to think hard to come up with something like this, and it's easy. Supreme Court Justice Neil Gorsuch just appeared on Fox and Friends this morning, making a point to parrot the Merry Christmas talking points of the GOP. If he's willing to go on Fox and throw a shout-out to Republican narratives, what else is he willing to do?
Oh, my God.
For saying Merry Christmas. That's a GOP talking point, Lonnie Poindexter. It's a GOP talking point.
Well, my social media presence has been so stepped on that I'm not even as active anymore because I'm just tired, because I know that nobody sees what I put out except for a handful of people. So I want to encourage all of your listeners across the country or globally to look for other platforms to find. There's companies that are working on new apps, and the audacity of these individuals to be so arrogant as to think they can contain and dictate thought and say that it's because it's their platform. Sadly mistaken. Americans will find a way. Common sense people will find a way. And I'm looking forward to the day that Google and Facebook and Twitter go the way of MySpace, if you get my drift.
Yes. I sent a number of tweets to President Trump. I'm sure he's looking for him too, darn it. To President Trump, and I said, if you want to change the background of everything in terms of social media, leave Twitter and go to I don't know, go to Gab AI and kick Twitter to the curb. Go to gabai.ai or go to MeWe or something like that.
Right.
And see the implosion on Twitter and the following expanse that occurs. It would be glorious and monumental. One final topic for about the last 9 minutes or so of the show. Folks, we're talking to Lonnie Poindexter of Lion Chasers. I found an article in Esquire, of all places, called The Drugging of the American Boy. By the time they reach high school, nearly 20% of all American boys are going to be diagnosed with ADHD. Millions of those boys are going to be prescribed a powerful stimulant to normalize them. A great many of these boys are going to suffer serious side effects from those drugs. The shocking truth is many of those diagnoses are wrong, and that most of those boys are being drugged for no reason, simply for being boys. It's time we recognize this as a crisis. So I thought, well, isn't that interesting? Because we're also simultaneously having a discussion about fathers in the lives of boys.
Yeah.
So don't be stupid, folks, and think, it's just blacks. No, it's whites, too. All boys require a father in the picture. Here's some stats. Children in the U.S. born without a mom and dad married to each other. In 1960, it was 5%. 1980, it's 18%. In 2000, 33%. In 2015, the last stats I have, it's 41%, pushing half of the families in the United States not having a dad in the picture.
Yes.
And then you're drugging boys. And then you're surprised that we're having a strange reaction in the United States to all of this. I can conclude nothing else other than this is agendized and it's planned. It is a plan. Lonnie Poindexter.
It's the emasculation of the American male. It's all part of the agenda to weaken this nation so that we collapse from within, so those from outside of our nation can exploit us. And you see it every day. And the plight of the black community in this area, I call the black plight the canaries in the mine shaft. You want to see how bad things can get. 70-some-odd% of black households today in America are single parent, typically headed up by females in the household. If you go back to prior to the entitlement programs of the mid-1960s, those numbers were the exact opposite.
Right, LBJ and the Great Society, yes. I credit LBJ with the downfall of the once nuclear great black family.
Yeah.
I can't think of any... Can you think of Lonnie Poindexter, anybody else that had a greater hand in the downfall of that family?
No, he had, and the thing that drives me crazy is your average American and your average black American thinks that LBJ was positive for the black community. But those programs and so forth have destroyed the black community. And here we were, in spite of racial indiscretion or oppression that we dealt with, we were an intact community within America, attaining the family, the American dream, and we're well on our way to true first-class citizenship on our own. But see, that doesn't play well within the confines of the liberal construct. And this topic here, we could do an hour on
Oh, yeah. Hey, here's another thing. I hate to interrupt. No, I don't. But when you come back, you know what? I would salivate at the potential thought of doing a full hour with you about the necessity of fathers in the black American family, in every family, making and comprising a nuclear family once again. You want to solve problems. You don't need to throw billions of dollars of cash because that's all you've got. You have no other real ideas. Support the American family. Support the American family. Keep dads in the picture.
Boy Scouts of America.
I'd love to do that.
Did you know the Boy Scouts of America now have female troops?
Yes, all female BSA troops.
Yeah.
And that would fall into the category of, are you kidding me? No. No.
I thought the Girl Scouts had their own organization. Why do they need the Boy Scouts? But it's all part of the agenda.
It is part of the agenda.
Yeah.
If you got a son these days, the statistics are that you got a 1 in 7 chance that that son has been or is going to be diagnosed with ADHD. You got a son that's been diagnosed, it's more than likely that that boy has already been prescribed a stimulant, like Ritalin, like Adderall, like new ones like I can't even pronounce it, Vyvanse and Concerta. Those, the DEA qualifies those stimulants as Schedule II drugs, having a quote, this is a quote from the DEA, a high potential of abuse and potentially leading to severe psychological or physical dependence. And you wonder why boys now aren't going to college, they're not succeeding, they're not passing high school, and they're turning to, we're cycling back to the 1980s once again when gang crime exploded. I know, I was a cop then, and I watched it. I took 3 rounds from people who thought that was a wonderful idea to be in gangs.
Yeah.
It's coming all around again. Crime is going back up. It
certainly is.
It's a surreal universe that I know that we, you, me, everybody else, proper thinking individuals, and I have to say proper thinking, I can think of no other phrase than that, we have to do something about.
We don't do anything about it, my friend. They will continue on with their agenda. I do a lot of work within the clergy community, and my chief job is to poke them, to provoke them to talk about these things in their pulpits, because they're dealing with the aftermath of it. You know, your average pastor is overrun and completely overworked, and many of them even leave the ministry because there's just so much dysfunction taking place because of society's implosion. But the answer is to speak truth, and I call it being a common sense American, understanding our true history, and standing up and saying something about what these evil individuals are doing.
I've been dragged kicking and screaming. Leftists have done this to me, not me. Dragged kicking and screaming into believing that leftist philosophy, I can conclude nothing else other than it is evil. I'm going to emphasize this again. When we're going to 2020, it's not just about electing a president. It's a bunch more than that. We're fighting for the survival of our culture, religion, language, just general goodness, common sense, the sovereignty of our nation, our independence. We're fighting for the United States of America, and by dint of that, we are fighting for Western civilization. When America goes away, the rest of the freedom on the planet goes away as well. I said again, when goodness loses, evil wins. I only conclude that leftists are evil. They've forced me into thinking that way, and it sometimes really is that simple. Lonnie Poindexter, where can people find you, listen to you, read you, sir?
They can catch me online. They can catch me on Twitter for the length of time I will remain. I'm still tossing around whether I'll leave the platform at The Lion Chasers. You can catch me at Twitter, or you can go to GLC TV, or that's God's Learning Channel, and catch my television programming there. And we have a wonderful round of guests on the show, and I'm really having a ball doing more television now. This is the door that's open, so this is the one I'm walking through. Thank you so much for inviting me to your show. Always a pleasure, Matt.
Thank you ever so much, Lonnie Poindexter. GLC TV. Everybody's going to be busy during the holidays next week. Christmas. Merry Christmas again to you, sir. Happy New Year. Everybody's going to be busy during that time. Could I have you back sometime in January, sir?
Anytime, brother.
Okay.
Anytime.
Thank you ever so kindly. Folks, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, that was Lonnie Poindexter. Thank you ever so kindly for being here. We're going to be taking a break, coming back. The phone line will be open. If anybody wants to call, yell, scream, make a comment, have a question, or talk about cookie recipes and whether or not nuts are demanded to be in chocolate chip cookies, I say no. I say absolutely hell no. No nuts in chocolate chip cookies. We'll be right back after this.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
From a public locker inside a dilapidated Long Island rail station comes a show designed to piss off liberals using truth, facts, and ridicule. The Lid Radio Show, featuring the conservative voice from the People's Republic of New York, the Lid himself, Jeff Dunitz. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com. At Lid Radio, we fight for the truth, justice, and a good kosher T-bone. If you don't listen, Hillary Clinton might sneak into your bedroom in her housecoat late at night and blame you for her election loss. It's the Lid Radio Show with Jeff Dunitz.
For 50 years, I've seen the American people blinded by corrupt politicians, a lapdog media, and deceptive Islam. The one thing the elites fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through Spreaker, iTunes, and SoundCloud, through SHR Media and the Western Free Radio Network, for half a century of experienced perspective on political and social issues, weekly on The Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's
no surrender, ever.
Because truth is not always pleasant.
This is Shannon Wright of The Right Way with Shannon and Mike in the AM. Mike's not here, so I gotta talk fast. You gotta join us. Fall season. Getting ready to start up with a whole bunch of new stuff. News and food and politics and sports and entertainment and a whole bunch of stuff. But wait, Mike's coming. I gotta go. Remember, Shannon and Mike in the AM on SHR Media, Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. Make sure you tune in.
Featuring right thinking from a left brain and doing the job the American maggots won't. BZ is fundamentally changing America, one diaper at a time. Just when safety pin manufacturers are running out of metal for the diapers of the leftists, where the speech is free, but the drinks are not. The bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night, commencing at 11 p.m. Eastern and 8 p.m. Pacific, where pushback is a requisite art form in and of itself. Let your ossicles be truly liberated when you listen to the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon, only on SHR Media Network. No ferrets were harmed in the making of this ad.
Join me, Jack Alexander, for the Jack Alexander Experiment podcast, as I take a unique outsider's look at the issues affecting the USA. I fearlessly take on the issues that everyone else is too scared to touch. The Jack Alexander Experiment podcast is available wherever good podcasts can be found, like Spreaker, iHeartRadio, and Google Podcast. The Jack Alexander Experiment, because it's not a matter of left versus right, it's a matter of right versus wrong.
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
Featuring the effervescent contrarian Sackheads Clint, plus the unrestrained bulbosity of BZ, the Sackheads Against Tyranny is a real chat show. Doubling your late-night conservative talk show pleasure with double the hosts, you can listen every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern. Please note, some contents may have settled during shipping. Member FDIC, batteries not included, warranty voided Montenegro.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Wow, the second hour already. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. Yes, it is I, BZ, the bloviating Zeppelin, right here in BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon, the radio show, special edition for today, for tonight. A special, massive special edition just for you tonight. And I had Lonnie Poindexter on in the entire first hour. I'm going to be talking back to Lonnie, talking back to him. Well, maybe I won't be talking back to him. I'll be talking to him next month. It'll be grand. It'll be great. I can tell. Just you wait. And oh, what heights we'll hit. On with the show. This is it. So the number is open. Programming note. It would appear that the old number, 209-284-3210, I don't know why I'm even given the number, that sucker doesn't work anymore, and I'm tired of having that number not work. The program X-Lite is what I ran it through, and X-Lite apparently sent some information to the effect that, well, we're going to be supporting X-Lite for the next 37 seconds. You may experience some troubles. Thank you, X-Lite, for at least being honest, because I have been experiencing some troubles with you, X-Lite. So as I indicated in chat, the new number as of tomorrow night, and I had a choice. I could get my own area code. I could choose my area code. So what area code do you think I chose, Alan Thomas? I chose 535 for my area code. The new number is 535-208-4481. 575-208-4481. It'll be up in chat tomorrow, and it'll be just thrown all over social media, etc. But I just wanted to give you a programming note and a heads up that I chose 535 because 535 happens to be Roswell, New Mexico. Roswell, New Mexico. Huh. There must be a reason that I chose Roswell. Well, that's the new number. And that's the new area code. 535-208-4481. Who do we have on the line? I think it's Kaiser. Go ahead, sir.
Hey, brother. First, I want to say Merry Christmas to UBZ.
Well, thank
Dave,
you, sir.
Mike.
Thank you.
The Alaskan, and Jack Alexander. Good men. Everybody in the chat tonight. And loved Lonnie. He was awesome.
Lonnie is a force unto himself. I like to have Lonnie on. Literally, when I was giving my email out on the air, I had people send me emails saying, well, aren't you just pandering to blacks? And you must be, how do you feel about getting blacks on who will lower themselves to getting on your show? Yeah, I actually got emails like that. Not kidding.
Well, those people are just cunts. Look, of course, everybody likes to...
I have Lonnie Poindexter on the show. I have Ken McClinton on the show. I have, Thursday night, programming note again. I'm going to have Earl Big E Jackson on, who both Earl and I are going to point fingers at and make fun of Sean, because Sean didn't tell me that he's a big friend of Earl Jackson, and that it's Earl Jackson's wife who's running the commercial for Carrie Girl. Sean didn't tell me that either. Bastard. So Earl Jackson is going to be on Thursday night, and then historically I've had Ralph Chittum's Sr. on, and a whole bunch of other people. They're conservatives. Okay? Well, I didn't go on and say, let's see. What black person am I going to have on the show tonight? I have people on my show of all colors, because I don't really care as long as they're conservative. Okay, Melanie Collette is on the SHR Media because, well, she's a fucking whiz. She is a genius when it comes to business. SHR is lucky to have her. And then we have Mike and Shannon Wright from The Right Way every morning, Monday through Friday on the SHR Media Network. Shannon Wright, by the way, folks, go to, I can't remember what her website is offhand. She's running for mayor of Baltimore next year. Send her some bucks. I've sent her $100 already. In 2020, I'll probably send her $100 more. Well, why?
Right.
Why? Because she's a conservative. That's why.
Well, it's not even that they're conservative. They're people that have a traditional American thought. You know, everybody wants to say you're a Nazi, you're a whatever, you know, a fascist, a communist, whatever. This is what our culture has degenerated into. And, you know, I've seen that from the forefront and was asked to look into it. You know all about this. Anyways, the point being is these people practice what's called Americanism. That is not a bad thing. They are proud to be Americans. They want to be Americans. I've had everybody on my YouTube channel that wanted to be on. And, you know, I have seen this kind of, it's all internecine YouTube BS. And
it is.
And in all honesty, here's how I look at it. You know, people can think and say what they want. I don't really give a fuck because, you know, I don't have any care in the world about any of it because they can't affect me. They think they can, I think, but they can't. And the reality is, it just makes me laugh that our culture has devolved into this. Back when I was young, and I'm sure when you're from Ohio too. Did you ever hear, and me and Dave talked about that in the last show we did, I never heard anybody say, that's a Democrat, don't talk to him. That's a Republican, don't talk to him. Libertarian wasn't a big thing in the 80s and 90s. But the thing I'm saying is, you've interviewed Adam Kokesh after I did.
Oh, yeah.
And
I've had libertarians on the show. Tons of libertarians, people that are running for sheriff, a guy that's running for president of the United States as a Democrat on the show.
Yeah.
All people, all color, all thoughts. I am not in lockstep at all with libertarians, but I want to hear what they have to say.
Hell yeah.
I'm not a pastor, but I want to hear what they have to say.
Right. It's the same thing with people of other colors. It's not like the only time I have an issue is with people who don't want to assimilate into America and realize the greatness of it.
Yes.
And I think that's every American on the planet. There's people I served with in all my different agencies and military branches. They didn't look like me. Shit, one dude, black dude, great guy, loved him to death. He saved my marriage. This is something that I've told you offline. It's fact. This guy was the biggest racist I ever met, and yet he liked me. I will suggest this book right now on your thing. It's not really a book. It's a pamphlet, but it's called How to Make a Slave by some slave captainship guy back in the 1600s. They used to bring slaves into the U.S. And he read it one way, I read it the other, and I'm looking at it. And I had to hide it, of course, because if I got caught with that pamphlet in my room, I'd be branded when I was a Fed as a racist. I was working at the G8 Summit at the time, 2004. And we were living on FLETC because that's where they gave us accommodation. But the thing is, the maids snoop through your shit. That's what they're supposed to do. It's just a thing they do as a Fed. No, they do.
I don't doubt you.
Well, you've worked as a Fed, so you know what I'm saying. But the point being that was a bigger thing is I read it, and I'm like, dude, they're doing it to everybody. And that's where I started going libertarian. And I look at both parties with a jaundiced eye.
You have to.
I have to. And I've always said you got to look to the extreme right and the extreme left, and the truth always lies in the middle. And you can't take either view unless that's what you're supposed to do to figure something out, which I've done before, but you know this. Anyway, so the point being is I loved listening to Lonnie because He's an American. And I think that's what everybody needs to realize is Americanism. I'm a member of the American Legion, and I'm also a member of the VFW. The American Legion, in their bylaws, say we spout nothing but Americanism, period. And guess what? The American Legion had black American Legion posts, and they integrated first. That's from the First World War. So these people saying that this stuff, they forget about Blackjack Pershing. It was black. They forget about their history. They don't want to know about it. That's the fact. And so this racial divide, you know, everybody can talk all the shit they want, and I don't really give a fuck. But the point is, I'm a dumb, ignorant hillbilly, Dago, and half German, you know, half Kraut. Call me the names. I don't care. I had my YouTube channel pulled down because of that for a couple of days. It's just ridiculous. I can't self-identify the reality of what it is. And yet, those words somehow trigger people. Wait. If I'm focusing on somebody and saying that in a derogatory form, I get it. But guess what? That wasn't the real deal. And, you know, I've had my channel attacked. I love when Jack said, oh, you open the lines up, you're going to get, I don't know what he was meaning, but you're going to get attacked by people. And I'm like, they attack us every day. It's not because of that. It's because we're conservatives or libertarians or anything outside of the leftist identitarian movement. And that is the problem. Communism is taking hold globally, and they're getting beaten back, and they don't know how to deal with loss. Trump's presidency proves it, brother.
I'm trying to
know what I'm saying.
I'm trying to find the article. A guy from the Hill wrote an opinion piece. I was listening to Glenn Beck on the way over to the studio tonight. I'm going to have to try to see during the break if I can find that article, but essentially the guy was saying that can we really count on the GOP members in the Senate holding for President Trump, or are we going to see, 20 Republican senators attempt to make a name for themselves by going against Trump in terms of the impeachment, because they'll be changing history by doing that?
Oh, yeah, we'll see Romney. I'll guarantee we'll see him. If McCain was still in, you'd see him do the same shit. Here's the thing. Neocons and neo-progs, neo-progressives, that's the problem. That's the deep state besides the SES and SIS. And I've been on your show before and other people's shows. I've always been consistent in the problem. And guess what? Comey still acts like, oh, well, yeah, I would be doing the same thing. No, he was the one feeding it. Same thing with Brennan. Same thing with Clapper. This shit is nothing new. And so when people say, oh, first off, I have a problem with the term conservative, because conservative, what have they conserved? Absolutely nothing. And that's a fact. Progressive, what are you progressing for? You're progressing. You're regressing. I have a problem with that. So neocons, neo-progressives, I have the same disdain for. What I care about are people that practice Americanism. This is my country as well as yours, as well as everybody who lives in this nation and wants to practice it and immigrate into it. They get all over people that say Islamo-fascist. Well, that's a pretty correct term, because people forget the meeting of Hitler and the Grand Mufti of Israel. Grand Mufti of Jerusalem at the time. People forget these facts. And, people forget that the SS units that were out there doing the Einsatzgruppen, what they forget is that the Grand Mufti went out and gave them encouragement to do more. And they were Albanian. And they were Azerbaijani. They were people that came into those units because they would take foreigners. And we're dying because we forget this history. Or, no, not we forget. We're being told to forget it. Let me rephrase that.
Yes, that would be more accurate. Remove the statues, pull down the history. Leftists are acting no better than ISIS in the Middle East.
And what do you think, Charlottesville and all these other places where you saw the Civil War memorials going on?
Sure.
What's the biggest thing? Never forget. Once you're pulling statues down, you're making people forget.
Well, that's the point. That is the point.
That is the point, brother. Anyways, I don't want to take up the whole show. I want you to get a lot of great callers in, and I know I'm not a great caller. I just love talking to you, brother. It's so much fun. I enjoy it on my show. I get Dave on. We rant. I've ranted with you and Alan, one of the best shows I've ever had.
Yeah, the 5-hour show.
Jesus, God, that was a great show, though. It was so long. All right, well, anyways, I just want to let you know. I just wanted to check in, tell Jack, tell Dave, Mike, Alaskan, and everybody, a Merry Christmas, and enjoy your time with your families, because that in the end, I'll give you a thing that a guy. He was survivalist like I was back in the day, and I was running my suck one time. I think I've told you about this before offline. When Clinton was president, and I was running my mouth, and he goes, "What the hell are you doing?" Now his name's Christopher Nurgis. He's a survival instructor and a great guy. He learned from, remember the guy back in the day that 60s and 70s that would like eat bark and shit?
Yeah, Ewell Gibbons.
Ewell Gibbons. He studied under Ewell. And, you cut me off because I have told you this story. And he goes, "Oh, you're talking, are you crazy? What are you doing?" And he'd known me from back in my Marine Corps time. And I said, "You know me, man, what the hell?" And he goes, "Okay, well, you're talking stupid." He goes, "Why can't you accept that Clinton's an asshole? Does he fuck your wife? Does he pay for your bills? No." He goes, "Then just realize he's an asshole and shut your mouth." And that's what got me through Obama, too. So that was wise advice, and I give that to everybody. I mean, we can all talk amongst ourselves, but unless we're actually, stupid and retarded, it's time to just moderate.
Yeah, like Dave says in chat, I came up with the name of Ewell Gibbons for whatever reason that was in my brain. Ever eat a pine tree?
Yeah.
Many parts are edible.
Yeah, I believe that was a Saturday Night skit, a Saturday Night Live skit.
Yeah, it was.
So yeah,
it was.
That's why we both remember. Anyways, I love you all. I love everybody that comes on my channel, and I like to keep it small. Anybody who I bounced off during the Kaiser roll, when somebody wanted to play a game, I'm sorry if I hurt your dick. But, I'm not going to play these games. It's just not my way. And, if you want to get wrapped up in an ego, get wrapped up in one. It's not going to be me. All right. Much love, brother.
All righty. See you, sir. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
The temp number for tonight, for all Canadians who want to call. Canadians, if you want to call and give me crap. And Mike, give me a call back. Canadians, give me a call, 916. This is only a temp number. This is only for the rest of tonight. 916-606-2494. 916-606-2494. Well, look. Okay. Let's see who this is. Who be this? Go ahead, sir, ma'am.
This being Mike.
Mike, how are you, sir?
Oh, I'm doing fine, BZ. You and Lonnie were talking earlier in the first hour about polling and about the amount of the black vote that is possibly out there to be had by the president.
Uh-huh.
Here's the deal. as I recall, in 2016, the president got like 8 or 9% of the black vote. That's it, 8 or 9%, and he won. You know, we were talking about lofty numbers of like 33, 34, 33, 32%. I mean, in my mind, all the president has to do is basically double that number he got last time, and he blows them out, you know?
Well, the polls that I was referring were the Emerson polling and the Rasmussen reports. And their report indicates that it's at about 34%. And then there's a new poll by Zogby Analytics found out that African-American support is at the highest levels of the year. Driven. Here's a shocker. You know, do you ever think, folks, that maybe black people like a nice economy too? Yeah, well, it's the strongest economy we've had in about 50 years. Imagine this. Historically low black unemployment. And he's supporting many minority small businesses and historically black colleges and universities and passage of criminal justice reform. Imagine that. So the 34% is, in fact, as you point out, it is a stunning number. But I also submit, as I guess you do, Mike, that that's why the Democrats and the leftists are going nuts. And now they're finally coming out to state it unequivocally. Though the Texas representative said it originally, if we don't impeach him, he's going to get reelected. Well, you know, you may impeach him, and he's still going to get reelected. Trump is a force unto himself.
Right.
He's not playing by the rules, and consequently, he's pissing off both sides of the aisle. And inside, I'm kind of enjoying that a lot.
I'm kind of enjoying it too. But here's something else that the Republicans that he's pissing off got to understand. If he wins that big, there's coattails, you know, and he could drag them into being the majority in the House again, and because of his coattails, if he wins that big.
Well, you know, there's a whole bunch of stories that I've got for that. Let's see. This is a wonderful story. Oh, Mike, did you go away? Maybe you went away.
I'm here.
Oh, okay.
I'm here.
This is the last story I'm going to do before the break. Because, I got one more minute before I do the break. This is from HermanCain.com. Detroit hit with lawsuit targeting massive voter roll irregularities. Whoa, 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 whoa. Wasn't it leftists and the Democrats who were saying there are no irregularities? There is no such thing as voter fraud. Yet, imagine that, voter fraud as not has emerged. It's been part and parcel of their thingy for years. It's the favorite thing that never happens, even though people keep getting arrested for it. Okay, last week there was a story about some Mexican national guy who was convicted of identity theft and fraudulent voting in 5 federal elections. There's nothing to see here.
Oh, there's
Move right along. That it doesn't happen. Now, how much is debatable, but there's no question that it goes on.
They want us to act like Lois Lane looking at Clark Kent because she can't see Superman because of the doggone glasses, you know?
Yeah.
That's how they want us to act. And look, I mean, all you have to do is look at the voter fraud in the state of California in some of those Republican-leaning districts that, what happened here? A Republican district now has a Democrat in it.
Here's what happened either early this year, right around January, or maybe late last year. People don't recall that Los Angeles County, California, spell it with a K, was sued to have its voter rolls purged of people voting illegally, and including the dead. Okay, well, that's the last story for the hour. I'm going to have to take a break, and thanks for calling, Mike. I greatly appreciate it, sir. We're going to take a break. I'll be right back. We're going to come back. Oh, I want to play a funny cut. I have a little bit of a funny cut in audio for you guys to listen to. And we listened to Lonnie Poindexter for the first hour, and we had calls from Kaiser and from Mike. We can have a call from you next if you want. Canadians, Jack, Bill, George, Frank, Werner, and where's Wendy tonight? I don't see Wendy tonight, and I don't see Simone tonight. So, hey, it could be Canadian night if you want. 916-606-2494. 916-606-2494. That number in Lodi, 916-606-2494. If you're calling from Bolivia, put a hola in front of it, and it's still 916-606-2494. Right? Oh, here it is.
The SHR Media Network.
Stop. No, if I'm not going to play the whole thing completely, let's do it right, okay? Let's start from the start. That was me. Damn, I need a producer. Hello? Huh?
You're a loony.
I know. I need a producer.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
For 50 years, I've seen the American people blinded by corrupt politicians, a lapdog media, and deceptive Islam. The one thing the elites fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through Spreaker, iTunes, and SoundCloud, through SHR Media and the Western Free Radio Network, for half a century of experienced perspective on political and social issues, weekly on The Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's
no surrender, ever.
Because truth is not always pleasant.
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
From a public locker inside a dilapidated Long Island rail station comes a show designed to piss off liberals using truth, facts, and ridicule. The Lid Radio Show, featuring the conservative voice from the People's Republic of New York, the Lid himself, Jeff Dunitz. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com. At Lid Radio, we fight for the truth, justice, and a good kosher T-bone. If you don't listen, Hillary Clinton might sneak into your bedroom in her housecoat late at night and blame you for her election loss. It's the Lid Radio Show with Jeff Dunitz.
Hey girls, Carry Girl Gear is here. More and more women every day are concealed carrying, participating in competitive shooting, and getting firearms training. It's not a boys' club anymore, and we don't have to shop in their stores anymore either. Finally, a cool and unique clothing line just for women. Dope tees and hats for the patriotic concealed carry and 2A girl. So what are you waiting for? Go check out carrygirlgear.com today.
Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, a mere 2 miles from the state capital, the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern. Only on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com to listen. You can also watch on the SHR Media Facebook page and the SHR Media YouTube channel. No goldfish were abused in the making of this ad.
New show on the SHR Media Network, Sackheads Against Tyranny. On shrmedia.com. Go there quick like a bunny, 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific, every Wednesday. Live and direct on the SHR Media Network. shrmedia.com. Be there.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics.
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
And all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on shrmedia.com.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Wow, the final 25. Although in this case, it's about the final 23 minutes because I started the promo a little late. 2 hours of essentially buttery political goodness have gone by. There will be more buttery political goodness if I can get this comedy bit to play, because this was kind of amusing. Thanks to Whiskey Dale, John, Dave, Mike, Jack, the Alaskan, Kaiser in chat tonight. I missed Wendy. Wendy, I missed you. Simone, you were not in chat. I've missed you as well. It's very sad. Kaiser in chat says, I'm going to be doing my shows during Christmas time with PSN. Okay. What is PSN? Because I honestly have to tell you, I don't know what PSN is. So maybe you can tell me. In the meantime, this is a comedy bit. I heard this and I thought, the first thing I thought of was, you guys need to hear this.
I have a question. Your cell phone rings and you don't recognize the number. What do you do? Ignore it. Don't answer it. Not me. I like life. The other day, my cell phone rang 917. That's a New York number. I didn't know who it was. I picked it up anyway. I hit talk. I said, hello. Guy in the line goes, hey, Bruce, what's going on? My name's Jay, not Bruce. So I said, nothing much, man. What's going on with you? And he said, I'll tell you what's going on. I just got an email about the budget. It's supposed to be $15,000. Now it's $10,000. And I'd like to know what's up. I got excited in my chest. I grabbed the steering wheel. I was like, okay, focus. Your name is Bruce. There's a budget. It was $15,000. Now it's $10,000. No one's happy about it. That's all we know. That's all we know.
Okay, stop. I got to ask this right now. Has anybody else besides me screwed around with a wrong phone number, with a wrong number on your phone? Because I have.
So I just repeated back to him what he said to me, and I go, 10,000 is supposed to be 15,000. He goes, yeah, I know. Well, I just got an email, and now it's 10. I go, listen, man, I don't know what to tell you. I've been on the road all day. I haven't even seen it. And he goes, did you send this out? I give him some attitude to Bruce. I didn't like it. I said, listen, man, the budget was $15,000. We had a couple extra expenditures. It went up to $16,200. I reworked it, got it down to $14,700. I had $300 to play with, so I called it $15,000, and I sent it out. And he goes, yeah, well, now it's 10, man. And I was like, oh, my God, that worked. That worked. Phase 1 complete. Phase 1 complete. Like, now I'm in the door. I have a 401k. I was at the Christmas party, okay? So he goes, did Larry okay this? I go, listen, man, I took the budget to Larry. Larry said it looked fine, but I knew it was my ass on the line, so I ran it by Jennifer, just in case, just to double check. Jennifer said it looked good. I sent it out. He goes, yeah, well, now it's 10, man. And I realized this guy has no idea what's going on over there. He hasn't talked to Larry. I know he hasn't talked to Bruce. He doesn't even recognize my voice. I know he didn't talk to Jennifer. I just made her up. So he goes, listen, man, what are we going to do about this? And I go, listen, I'm on the road right now. I haven't even seen the email. Why don't you give Larry a call, check in with him, see what he says, call me back. Just praying he will, because that return phone call was going to be amazing. And he goes, you know what? Why don't wait till you get home, you check the email, you call Larry, you call me back. And I go, nah, bro. Larry knows way more about this than I do. Give him a call, call me back. He goes, okay, hangs up the phone. To which I explode with euphoria. Because there's a small business in New York that is crumbling to the ground. Over $5,000, and nobody can find Jennifer. They're looking. I get home, I'm so excited, I take out my cell phone, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to save that guy's number. Give him a call in a couple days, touch base, you know what I mean? Check in. See where we're at, you know? So I save it in my phone under random guy. That's what he is. He's a random guy. 4 or 5 days pass, I forget about it. Laying on my couch, watching the ball game, phone rings on the dining room table. I get up, watching the game, grab the phone, watching the game, look down, random guy. But it's been a couple days, you know what I mean? So I'm like, random guy? Who's random guy? Like, who would even have random guy as their name that comes up? And then I was like, random guy! Like, now I'm panicked, you know what I mean? People's lives have been affected. It's only $5,000, but I don't know how big that company is. But I'm addicted to it. You know what I mean? I started this thing. I need to see it through.
Hell yeah.
So I put my earbuds in, just get a little distance, you know, just get a little space. And I hit talk. Same guy goes, hey, Larry, what's going on? Yeah, now he's calling me Larry. He knows something's up, but I'm not about to back down. I go, nothing much, man. What's going on with you? And he goes, well, I got us on conference call with Janelle and Marie. And I was like, okay, here we go. This is why we play the game, you guys. This is why we play the game. So I go, welcome to the call, ladies, as if to say, welcome to the show. You know what I mean? Here we go. Marie takes the lead. She goes, hey, Larry, what time is it where you are? I live in L.A., they're in New York, it's 5:30, so I go, 8:30. It's 8:30. She goes, really, what's the weather like? And I was like, oh, weather's nice. She goes, you know, this doesn't sound like Larry. And I go, oh, yeah? Who's it sound like? And a random guy chirps him from the back, and he goes, sounds like Bruce! Sounds like Bruce! Like he's going to blow this case wide open. And I go, listen, guys, this isn't Larry, and it isn't Bruce. And Marie goes, who is this? I said, I'm just some guy who had nothing better to do than to mess with you guys. And Marie got pissed. She was not happy. She goes, you understand we're trying to run a business over here? And I was like, yeah, well, I got that from the budget. I just figured it was a business. And she goes, what do you think? This is some kind of joke? And I was like, well, a little bit. Thought it's pretty funny. And she goes, let me ask you something. And I go, no, you let me ask you something. And she goes, what? And I go, where are we at with the budget?
Okay, that's funny. All right. Is it? I think it's funny. Come on. Give me a break here. In any event, I think I told you guys this before. The Drudge Report apparently has been sold. And I'm finding a lot of articles on a new place called the Citizen Free Press, and it's citizenfreepress.com. So if you want to find an aggregator of articles that is like the Drudge Report, because clearly President Trump has pissed off Matt Drudge the way he apparently pissed off Napolitano. And so Napolitano is 24/7 anti-Trump, and apparently Matt Drudge is now too. Go to citizenfreepress.com, another aggravator. They could be an aggravator to the left, another aggregator. It's a place I go to find all sorts of news stories. And they're not invalid. It's just a place where you go to find news stories. They don't write them, but they sure publish them right there. And I'm not getting a cent out of this. This is a great, great promo. And this is the one I think that you should be seeing on your television. And you guys are going to have to tell me in chat whether or not you've seen it, because I have not here in California. Spell it with a K. But they should be paying good money to run this bit. It's a 30-second ad. And I haven't seen it in California. Spell it with a K. I haven't seen it on TV. I haven't seen it on any other channels, but you should.
About preventing a potentially disastrous outcome from occurring next year.
And I'd like to impeach the bastard right now.
An imposter. He really should be punished.
That charlatan in the White House.
We're going to impeach the motherfucker.
I am not running for anything except the impeachment of Trump.
We cannot accept a second term for Donald Trump.
If we don't impeach this president, he will get reelected.
Yep. And Democrats are unhinged. You can go to stopthemadness.com, stopthemadness.com. Perhaps you were looking for a happy story. There might be a happy story. Let me look and see if I can find one. Yeah, here's a happy story. Well, if it's a happy story, then BZ, if you don't have a producer, I guess that means you're going to have to produce it yourself. Yeah, I'm going to have to produce it myself. Wait a minute. Stop. What's running? Something else is running. Oh, okay. This is running. Stop that. This is why I need a producer. Okay. All right. I think I've figured it out. I'm still...
You're a loony.
I guess I'm still that, but here is, let's see, the producer says you got to go here. This is what we need.
It's time for happy stories and good times.
I think this is a great one. This is from Breitbart. The bottom falls out as CNN ratings hit a, are you ready for it? The bottom falls out as CNN ratings hit what? Come on. A 5-year low. Isn't that grand and glorious? Far left CNN, obviously a 24/7 anti-Trump, let's see, pro-violence, they're pro-racist, they're fake news, they traffic in conspiracy theories. They collapsed to a 3-year low in the ratings during the week of November 25th, a 3-year low, 3 years. At the same time, Trump is getting impeached. If they can't get CNN to rally around impeachment, oh my God. So apparently Thanksgiving didn't affect it. Fox News at the same time simultaneously increased its primetime audience by 6% compared to the same time last year. MSNBC, oh no, lost about 35% of its audience, but it didn't hit a 3-year low yet. This is glorious. This is another happy story. CNN hit not only a 3-year low, it the least trusted name in news now fell to 18th place during prime time. Fox came in third. MSNBC came in fourth. By the way, did I mention that CNN came in 18th place? And it's a 3-year low. At the same time, the jobs reports are the best numbers in 50 years. That latest jobs report is out, and the numbers show the lowest unemployment rate in half a century. It dropped from 3.6 to 3.5%. That's the 50-year low right there. And the economy added 26,000. I'm sorry, wrong. 266,000 new jobs. Plus, also this. We were talking to Lonnie, what networks were ahead of CNN? Dave answers. That's a good question. I think as I said before, and it goes back and forth between them and CNN, I think the 24-hour Tibetan bell ringing channel was ahead of CNN. I think they were 17th, though CNN was 18th. If you haven't listened to the 24/7 Tibetan bell ringing channel, it's great. You really need to. It's a fabulous channel. I'm sure you can go find it anywhere you want. So here's another story. Candace Owens says there's going to be a major black exit, just like the polls indicate, from the Democrat Party by 2020.
Voting group by 2020, our awakening is finally happening. Candace Owens, author of that tweet, joins me now. She's also the communications director for Turning USA. It's a conservative nonprofit organization. Explain the tweet. And how can you say that black voters have been politically irrelevant?
By the way, this is MSNBC.
For decades.
Right. So politically irrelevant because if you consistently vote for just one party, then you're not going to see people competing for your votes. And that's what we have seen happen. So I feel that on the Republican side, they weren't doing anything because they saw it as a monolith and they weren't trying to win over black voters. And the Democratic side, they were able to present us with a bunch of broken promises, if you will. We are seeing a huge difference, a huge shift, a bunch of black people popping up on YouTube and on social media and hashtags saying that they are walking away from the Democratic Party. It's something that hasn't gotten much airtime on liberal networks, and it should because it's very real. And you can see that just by some of the polls that have been done that show that black people are starting to support Donald Trump.
Polls
like the fact that he has the most support, black support, since, I believe, Richard Nixon. And that's a very big deal.
Where's that poll from?
That's I want to get the exact website. I'm going to have to look it up for you, but it's a poll. That's an exact poll.
Because there have been a number of these polls, and I'm using air quotes because a number of these polls are not actually polls. They're opt-in surveys.
Right.
They're not really
but
polls.
In terms of...
Because this MSNBC anchor who is black doesn't believe that blacks are actually migrating over to President Trump, because what that means is that starts to invalidate the entire reason, the necessity for CNN and the necessity for MSNBC. Plus, I guess it could impact his job.
I mean, there've always been black Republicans. This isn't some sort of new phenomenon. Are you asserting that all of a sudden there are millions of new black Donald Trump supporters that we didn't know anything about before?
They weren't Trump supporters to begin with, but we're seeing a shift, a major shift happen, and black supporters are leaving the left and going over to the right. You need but pay attention to the underground movement. And look, you are correct to say that just because a poll says something, it isn't right. The polls told us that Hillary Clinton was going to win, and she didn't, right? But I wasn't fooled by the polls. I thought that Hillary Clinton was going to lose. In the same way that I am also saying that I believe that black voters are going to exit the left completely by 2020.
But you didn't vote for Donald Trump, to be clear.
I did not, because I was sick. I was in bed for 6 months, and I was unable to vote.
NBC News has learned that the president has Supreme Court search down to 3 contenders. What are you looking for in the next Supreme Court justice?
Look, I'm not looking for anything in particular. Somebody that will uphold the Constitution. Of course, I think that's super important. I don't think that we should stress out until he makes a pick, and then we can talk about the different, qualifications. But I think that right now there's mass hysteria over the fact that he gets.
Anyway, she goes on and on. That is, in fact, a happy story. I wanted to play that one particular cut first. Here's another update. You may not remember this, and it certainly wasn't covered by the American media maggots, but there's an update. A judge has dropped 5 felony charges against the journalist who exposed Planned Parenthood. Remember Planned Parenthood, selling baby parts, etc.? There was a San Francisco Superior Court judge who dropped 5 of the standing felony charges. There's 14 felony charges against undercover journalist David DeLayden in the so-called baby body parts case that exposed... they called it unsavory and potential illegal practices by abortion giant Planned Parenthood. Well, the case went forward because, well, hell, it was in California. That's why the case went forward. Here's something that scares, and people are saying, well, there is no such thing as Brexit. It doesn't happen. This is what scares Democrats right here. Smart, independent, like Lonnie Poindexter, Ralph et al., successful black people that they can't control. President Trump has essentially empowered black Americans to partake in the American dream. Black unemployment, the lowest it's ever been. Black businesses are up 400% since his election. Yeah, compare that to Obama's. What does Obama's record say? Obama was the food stamp president. Here's 45 seconds of another thing that a lot of Democrats, leftists, and the American media maggots are afraid of.
This president, the economy is the strongest in my lifetime. But wait, maybe a little too strong when you consider the record low unemployment and how difficult it is to find employees. So we are hiring. Osprey is hiring. All right. To everyone listening, our future success depends on our ability to ignore the distractions we see on a daily basis. Participate in this economy. Take advantage of these policies. Don't sit on the sidelines because of emotions or feelings. Get in the game. As an Air Force veteran, I took advantage of your upgrade of the policy.
And that's the deal. The advantages, the openness, the abilities are there. Here's another happy story, and you probably didn't hear. This is from my good pal, Jeff Dunitz. This will probably be the last story of the night. Oh, programming note. Before I forget, and then this one final story. That is by my good friend Jeff Dunitz at lidblog.com. Lidblog.com. It is a happy story. Programming note, tomorrow night there will be a Sackheads Against Tyranny, a real chat show. I yelled at Clint last night a number of decibels beyond what I normally do. It wasn't simply a conversational, nice tone that I had with Clint. We'll see if this happens tomorrow night. So there will be a chat show tomorrow night. Clint has promised. And then Thursday night, I will have Earl, Big E Jackson in the saloon for the first hour. And there will be a ton more politics. And I'm sure that we'll have more to talk about in terms of impeachment, because the House will either pass or not pass the impeachment tomorrow. They'll either okay it or not okay it. And we'll have more to talk about. And then a final programming note. Next week, Christmas Eve, Tuesday night, I will not be broadcasting because who broadcasts on Christmas Eve? Christmas Day, there will be no chat show because who does that on Christmas Day? And the day after Christmas, I may have a show, depending on if I'm motivated by any kind of wackiness that occurs, but probably next week I'm not going to be on, but I will let everybody know here and also in social media as to what occurs. The final story of the night. The day after being cleared by Inspector General Horowitz, Lisa Page sues the FBI and the DOJ. She sues the FBI and the DOJ. Former FBI lawyer and half of the infamous anti-Trump FBI lovebirds with Peter Strzok. Lisa Page filed a lawsuit against her former FBI employers in the Justice Department alleging privacy violations over her text messages with former FBI agent Peter Strzok himself. In the lawsuit filed in the U.S. District Court for the District of Columbia, Ms. Page says her text messages with Peter Strzok were unlawfully released to the press for, quote, multiple improper reasons, including AG Sessions trying to gain favor with President Trump. No, they showed clear conspiracy in terms of having or attempting to have an insurance policy against Trump. That means that you were involved in direct political bias.
Monsieur has
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, thanks for listening to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, live and direct right here on the SHR Media, the sumptuous, palatial, and resplendent SHR Media studios, where I am broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California. Always spell it with a K. If you want to contact me, you can find me on Twitter at BZEP, at BZEP, and on my blog at bloviatingzeppelin.net. Promotional consideration is by the Lockheed Martin Skunk Works, and also by Pratt & Whitney Engines Thrust. You can trust. Oh, occasionally by the Allahu Snack Bar, a little bit of Muhammad in every bite. Tiaras are by My Little Pony. Thanks to my personal KC-135 Kettle One refueling team with whom I shall be consorting in less than an hour. Thanks to Lonnie Poindexter for being here tonight. Thanks to everybody for listening live. Thanks to you for being in chat. Everybody in chat, thanks for listening in podcast. I get a ton of repeat listeners in podcast. Thanks to the American truckers for listening while you keep America moving. I appreciate each and every one of you for taking time out of your busy day or night. God bless, take care, be safe. Tomorrow night, Chat Show, Clint and BZ. Yeah.
Everybody quiet down now and get some sleep.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, Mama. Good night, Ben.
Good night, everyone. Good night, Mama. Good night, Daddy.
Good night, children.
Good night, Daddy. Good night, Elizabeth.
Good night, John Boy. Good night, Jim Bob. Good night, Jim Bob.
Good night, Jim Bob.
What's going on? I was asleep. What's everybody doing?
Good night.
Good night, Jim Bob.
Good night, and good luck.